muted.
That's fine. Let's go down.
Oh, they moved it.
Welcome back to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, Mustang.
Hey, how you doing, fans? It's been a minute. Been fiending.
Been quite a few minutes, if
Been
you
a
do
couple,
say so myself.
couple minutes.
Just a couple.
Just a couple minutes. How you doing, bud?
Fatigued,
Fatigued.
tired, but ready to grab this podcast by the gonads
Oh.
By the Nards.
and excrete
Indeed.
so much passion that it's insane.
This man's vocabulary has really improved over the past however many days.
You get paid a couple dollars and
I'm posh now.
He's posh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where 2 and sometimes 3 sports lovers sit and give their hot takes.
Off the dome.
I am Redfish.
I am Mustang.
I'm Rebo Hustle.
That felt so good.
And he is yelling.
Somebody's happy to be here.
Somebody is happy to be here, and we're happy to have him here.
Somebody is.
Glad to be here. And before we get started, obviously follow us on Twitter, _Dome Pod, also known as X, not Twitter. Last week, I did a great job of saying X first. This
You
week,
remembered.
not so much. It's all right. _Dome Pod on YouTube, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. If you're watching, that's how you're watching. Of course, follow the No Network, of course, at Be in the Know, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it.
I was about to do that.
Good work. But follow the No, all the boys over there doing great stuff. Got us on Off the Dome. You got, Dave and Patty with Who Heaven Knows. You got Pels Press over there. You've got Chrissy doing some work. Jacob, Sports World UK. Just all the good stuff going on. So very excited to be a part of that. Very excited to keep on moving throughout this sports season. We're kind of in the thick of it right now. Finally getting into the
Things colliding in
Yeah.
the sports world.
the meat of the season, some would say. And going to start off with our boys in purple and gold. LSU football comes out of this weekend with a huge win, 48-18 over the Auburn Tigers. Boots on the ground in Death Valley this weekend from the boy Redfish, and it was a good one to be there for. Energy was there from first snap to last. Tigers just dominated from the very first whistle. There was never any doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was our best all-around game all season. Both sides of the ball looked pretty good. Offense, we expected them to look that way, and they did. Defense kind of surprised me a little bit. We're going up against a pretty bad offense, but it made them look even worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, they going into the week, they were the 118th ranked passing defense, and Auburn was the 118th ranked passing offense. We really saw, I don't even know who the starter's name was, but he was struggling, and so shout out to my guy Bobby Hebert. Nope, T-Bob Hebert.
Are you talking about the
And-
Auburn quarterback?
Yes.
Robbie Ashford.
Nope, that's the backup.
No.
The backup.
He's the backup.
Yep.
That's I was there, and he's the only one I noticed.
Nope,
'Cause
that's
he's
the
been
backup.
there a while.
He's been
Yeah.
He torched us last year, and they brought in some guy, and he's a starter now. But
Oh,
they had to turn
They turned to
as
Ashford.
T-Bob Hebert
Yeah.
say Robbie Ashford,
yeah.
and
He kind of was their glimmer of hope in the second half when they brought him in to kind of mix things up, but we keyed in pretty quick on it.
yeah, he just brought a different element. Like, he's more of a runner.
Yeah.
But he did make some pretty good plays in the passing game. All around good.
Peyton Thorne is
Peyton
the name
Thorne,
we were looking
correct.
for.
And another good thing about the defense is they really found a home for Harold Perkins on first and second down, playing him in the nickel or just the overhang. Whereas on third down, he was rushing the passer, doing what he did so well last year. I just think that all around it was a great game for the Tigers, and go Tigers beat the Tigers.
Yeah. Go Tigers beat the Tigers indeed. I think the defense, this is the best they've looked all season. Not to say that the Auburn offense is some superstar offense that we stopped, but they're more than respectable enough to score points.
Yes, I mean, still an
So,
SEC
yeah.
offense.
Yeah, and LSU beat them by 30, and it took Georgia until the fourth quarter to really handle Auburn.
Right, yeah.
So for me, the defense, very impressed with what they did. Did they let up some big plays? Absolutely. But way less than normal. You can find holes in every defense, but this is definitely the best they've played. Adjustments still need to be made. However, I think the coaching staff is making adjustments that need to be made, and it's showing off. Great point about Harold Perkins. That's what I was going to bring that up as well, is that they've kind of found his role, and it's not exactly what his roles looked like so far. It's not the same role he played last year. He's not coming off the edge 90% of the snaps like he did last year. He kind of finds that space and coverage throughout the first couple downs, and then he'll rush the passer on third down, or if it's a specific running situation, they'll still bring him off the edge. And then there was that one drive, I believe, in the third quarter or early fourth, where he stopped all 4 plays by himself. He is still an absolute force to be reckoned with, and I don't want people to forget that. So defense, we've got to give them their flowers. They played great. But the offense, 3 weeks in a row, has scored 49, 49, 48. And literally on the last podcast, I said LSU is not scoring 49 points again. It's going to be too close of a game. Auburn always plays this close. And then Reese was like, I don't know, they might score 49 points again. They didn't. They scored one less.
Excuse me.
Yeah, well, excuse me even more, because I said take the Auburn spread. And boy, was I wrong. Yeah. Because Jaden Daniels is playing like an absolute Heisman candidate. 20 for 27, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. Apparently he threw a pick. I was in the stadium. Don't remember him throwing a pick, by the way.
I don't remember that.
Do not remember Jaden Daniels throwing an interception. Apparently he threw one in the second quarter. I never left my seat, so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, even the opposing coach gave so much credit to
Hugh Freeze.
Shout out Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze gave so much credit, so much praise to Jaden Daniels, saying that to say that he's not up for the race in Heisman so far this year is insane. And I'm of course I agree with him.
Yeah, I mean,
y'all think anything changes after this week, or maybe after the next few weeks?
I think the Caleb Williams stock has definitely gone down. He threw 3 interceptions against Notre Dame this week, and I just feel like that helps both Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels. And so now the race is more leaning towards one of those two guys, but you're still looking at Jaden Daniels being disrespected, because if you look at the numbers, and just the numbers, not even watching the game, because the eye test is amazing, because I watched the second half of Oregon-Washington, and honestly, Washington's offense didn't look very good. I mean, they were scoring points, but it wasn't like the electric LSU offense. And so I think that should give him the edge, but just the numbers alone should give Jaden the edge. And also,
yeah. And keep in mind, this is coming from a man who was just about to count Jaden Daniels out.
I don't think he was just about to. I think he did.
Oh, no. The beginning of the season, I was calling for him to be benched because I was tired of seeing no progression, no can't really read a defense. But, man, this week, you could see him sitting in the pocket, just sitting there. Yeah, you see his eyes go to 4 different receivers, and that's what's beautiful about the progression of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, just from watching him from a live perspective, when you're on TV, you can only see so much. But when you're in person, you see all 22, every snap. Yeah. And it was the first game I've been able to go to all season, and boy, I'm glad this was the one, because you really did get to see the progression of Jaden Daniels. Because a lot of now I'm sitting in the student section, of course, so a lot of the students, the second he gets the ball in his hands, they're like, we got to score right now this second. Because they don't, most of them are either too intoxicated to understand football or just don't understand football that great. But he gets the snap, he sits in the pocket, and you like y'all said, you can really see him scanning the field, going left to right, right to left, and making sure he, all of his options are surveyed before he makes his next move, which is not something we saw Jaden Daniels do every game last season, and surely didn't see him do early on last season. So you can definitely see, the year to year and a half he's had under this LSU offense, how he's progressed. As far as the Heisman talk goes, before this game, he was 7th, I believe, highest odds for Heisman. He's now tied for 3rd, behind Michael Penix, Dylan Gabriel, and then tied with J.J. McCarthy. So he's sliding in above guys like Jordan Travis and Drake May and Caleb Williams and Bo Nix. But Michael Penix is actually the odds-on favorite right now at minus 140. Jaden Daniels comes in at plus 1,200. So definitely a big odds difference. I think the reason the three guys above him is because they play for 3 undefeated teams.
Yeah, when loss takes a big toll on it.
But the last stat we have to bring up with LSU is, like we were talking about just now with the Jaden Daniels versus Michael Penix talk. I was talking with Rebo Hustle about it yesterday because I saw a tweet about it, or an X post, whatever you'd like to say. But Jaden Daniels is beating Michael Penix in legitimately every single statistic right now. He has 600 total more yards than him, 6 total more touchdowns than him, the same amount of picks, and then 1 higher % of completion percentage. So he's completing more passes, he's passing for more yards, he's rushing for more yards, and he has more touchdowns.
Sounds like he's just better.
He's having a better season. Is Michael Penix an electric player? Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Is he on arguably the best team in football? Yes, because they're a top 10 ranked team who just beat another top 10 ranked team. However, when it comes to the quarterback play, if you put them on the same field with the same players, Jaden Daniels is playing better football than Michael Penix, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So, that being said, we play Army this weekend. I haven't looked at the opening spread.
Not much to talk about.
But I'm taking LSU.
I'm taking LSU, whatever it is.
It could be 50.
It does kind of feel like one of those, like, should we be thinking more about this because of how we've been playing? But then again, I kind of thought that about Auburn too, like I mentioned, and then we did what we just did.
I just think it's the Army triple option special, and our weakness is the pass game. And so I think we might see more like a true 3-4 instead of like a nickel defense. And so that way you get Spates, Penn, and Weeks on the field all at the same time. And I think that's how they're going to be able to beat the triple option. And honestly, the more Weeks we get, the happier I am.
Never complained about more Weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've already, defended the run pretty well against all these SEC schools who have, SEC, we pound the rock.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm really not worried about Army running the triple option. I'd be more worried if they were a passing team, but Army historically runs the ball.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they have LSU at minus 29.5.
And I'd probably take LSU there.
They just beat an SEC school by 30.
They beat Auburn by 30. They'll beat Army by 45. Which that's going to be...
Do I think Army's going to run one streak down the sideline and it's going to hit? Probably.
Maybe so.
But
Zy Alexander's going to get caught on his heels.
And, given our boys back that way, some credit. Another top-ranked team from Louisiana. Tulane is favored by 20.5 against Stone Cold Steve Austin's alma mater.
That's a great way.
It's North Texas for you.
That's a great way to refer to UNT. But yeah, Tulane and LSU both ranked right now, so it's a great time to be a Louisiana college football fan. Really excited about what LSU can do this weekend against Army. It is the homecoming game, so hopefully a little bit more energy with the boys. I'll be on the field during halftime. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Shout out LSU homecoming. I'm really excited about what this LSU team can do in the future. The narrative was like, what does LSU have to play for now that we have 2 losses? But, BK came out and said it, and it's kind of true. With the way the SEC is going this year, even at 2 losses, you control your own destiny. Because LSU had the same predicament last year where they had 2 losses going to we ended up losing that game to A&M. But we don't lose that game to A&M. We have 2 losses going to the SEC championship game. If you somehow pull out a win in that SEC championship game, it's really hard to look at a 2-loss team who won their conference and played against teams like Georgia and Alabama and Ole Miss. And they beat those guys and keep them out. Right. Is it a guarantee you make the playoffs if you win the SEC championship at 2 losses? No. Because no 2-loss team has ever made the playoffs. Yeah. But if LSU can win this out, keep playing like they are right now, scoring 48, 49 points a game, the playoff committee might have something to think about.
Yeah, it'd be hard to keep them out. And, they did say when we lost to Ole Miss that they're officially eliminated from contention, but it's not completely true because Georgia's been playing these teams close. They could lose. Alabama and Ole Miss already have a loss. So if we beat Bama, that gives them another loss. Both 2 losses. If Ole Miss slips up and loses a game, it's basically a 3-way tie because they each beat each other.
There's no possibility that the playoff committee would leave an SEC team out.
Right. Yeah.
Because the SEC football is just too big of a draw to leave them out. So somebody from the SEC is going to make it. So if you're the question now, this is all hypothetical, of course. The question comes down to if LSU can run the table, they make the SEC championship game. Do you put in a 2-loss winner or a 1-loss loser? And that's kind of what we'd have to see.
I mean, we saw that last year with the Big 12. I think TCU lost to Kansas State in the championship game. TCU still made the playoff. So that's kind of tough to think back and know that that's the history.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're scoring 49 points a game, that's hard for
them to say, I guess not.
I mean, if you look back, it was close to 10 years ago. I believe it was LSU Ohio State in the national championship game. LSU had 2 losses that season and still managed to get there because of so many. It was crazy. All the things that had to happen for LSU to make it, and it ended up happening. Missouri played a key factor in that.
Shout out to the BCS days, man. BCS was a time. All right, so I think we've covered LSU a good bit. Now going to the unfortunate side of Louisiana football this past weekend, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch much, if any, of the game. I think I saw one drive each. I saw the Rashid Shaheed touchdown drive, and I saw the drive before that where the Texans scored. So I saw 2 scoring drives, and that was it. And then I listened to the rest of it on radio because I was driving. So I didn't get to watch much of it, but if you guys did get to watch it, what were your thoughts on that unfortunate loss, 20-13 to the Houston Texans?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. I think I speak for both me and Rebo Hustle when I say that we were extremely confused as to why Garcia got the start over Penning. Kind of blew our minds and didn't turn out well. He looked pretty bad the first half. And then Hurst goes down. They slide over Garcia. Penning was back in. Plays pretty well the rest of the game. Defense looked a little, not they weren't in the same form we've been used to seeing them so far this season. They kind of looked like they were always a step behind C.J. Stroud, who, let me tell you, diced them up. Like, the scoreboard doesn't show it, and his stats really don't either, but he was making some incredible reads, some incredible plays as a rookie.
I have my own thoughts about C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
Say it.
Yeah, come on.
I'm
lobbing it to you.
He's the best rookie quarterback we've seen since Cam Newton. In over 10 years, he is the best rookie quarterback we've seen.
That is very true.
I mean, for the Houston Texans to be 500, or I know we're off the dome St. Joe. I get it. But for the Houston Texans to be 500 right now with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, young weapons on the offensive side of the ball, not many names on the defensive side of the ball.
Arguably your best defensive players out for the year.
Injuries all over the team. And you beat a veteran team like the Saints who have Derek Carr at quarterback, Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, and then one of the best defenses in the league. I think it says a lot about that Houston Texans team. I don't want to be like the I told you so kind of guy, but C.J. Stroud.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Love C.J. Stroud. And, yeah, I mean, just to kind of rectify this loss a little more, I think everybody's so used to the Texans being that awful team that they're not giving them enough credit this season. That was a tough team to beat.
Yeah.
And especially on the road. They started off hot. They've had their stretches. They probably lost some games where they should have won. It just didn't roll their way. But looking forward on the Saints, I do still see some upside to this team. I mean, the offense is getting better every week. Derek Carr just threw for 400 yards. He didn't have a bad game at all.
And that was after getting – I mean, he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
Like, he got hit at one point in the game.
And grabbed his ribs.
And I think it was his ribs. Like, it looked like he got punched in the stomach. And then the entire game just couldn't turn his body and get into it. for me, from what I can read and what I can gather, it comes down to two main aspects of our offense, and they're the reasons we're losing game. And it's offensive line and it's coaching.
Yep.
And you cannot win a game with a bad offensive line and bad coaching to back it up. Like that is the worst possible recipe for winning a football game. And I know I'm a Detroit Lions truther, and I'm a huge Detroit Lions guy, but
Great
if you look at the
Great play
Detroit
calling.
Lions, who are 5-1, one of the best football teams in the NFL right now, and with the 49ers and the Eagles losing and the Bills almost losing,
NFCs?
you could argue the Lions are a top 3 team in the NFL, and the number one thing that they invest in is offensive line. The number 2 thing they have going for them is a fantastic coaching staff.
Sam Laporta.
Well, they also have Sam Laporta. But if you look at bad teams and you look at good teams and you look at what's the difference in them, good teams have good coaches and good teams build from the trenches, and the Saints have bad coaches and are not winning in the trenches.
Yeah, to touch back on the offensive line, it made almost 0 sense to bench Trevor Penning. He had the first 2 weeks were pretty abysmal. We were only talking about the negatives with him. And then against the Packers, he was the highest rated PFF player on the team. I don't think he gave up any pressures in that game. Last week, he looked really good. And honestly, I really thought that him and Ramczyk were the only 2 bright spots on the offensive line last week. And, I mean, all in all, they played well because they shut out a team, but the offensive line still looked a little shaky in the middle. And so benching Trevor Penning coming into this week where you're looking at Will Anderson Jr., we know him from Bama, really wants to get at the quarterback. And is his first name Dominic Grenard? Jonathan
Greenard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just known
Close.
for being, it was close.
Pretty good for Reese.
Reese is bad with names.
Pretty good for Rebo there.
He was he's an all-around dog, known for getting at the quarterback. And so to make a move at tackle, what the fans knew as 2 days before the game, which I'm sure they practiced Hurst at tackle all week, just doesn't make any sense. Hurst played left tackle last year, if I'm not wrong. And
Yeah, he did.
Wasn't terrible, but him at guard is so much better, and Penning just continues to grow, so it doesn't make sense that you would just lose all investment in this first-round pick all of a sudden. And certainly for Max Garcia, who even in the preseason didn't look very good, and we had to see we saw him a couple times throughout the year because of the injuries to Hurst, Ruiz, and Pete. And he also didn't look that great either. So I'm trying to figure out, are they trying to say, is Garcia a better prospect than Penning, and that's why we need to invest in him? Or are they trying to say Penning's just so bad that Hurst needs to start at left tackle?
Honestly, I don't care what this coaching staff says at this point. I don't like any of it. Listen, I've never been the one who's been like, man, Trevor Penning's going to be so good, and been all about him. But also, I don't think that taking a player who didn't really play last year in his rookie season because he was injured, and then starting him through the first 5 weeks of the year or 4 weeks of the year, and then killing that momentum by bringing in somebody who we didn't even invest that much into in Max Garcia, or taking an older veteran like James Hurst, who it's not like he's some superstar tackle, and just killing the momentum of having Penning in the game and learning, because the best way to learn O-line is to play it.
Right.
I don't think that's a secret, especially when you're going up against 2 guys who can rush the passer in Greenard and Will Anderson. So for me, I didn't understand the Trevor Penning benching, and overall, I hate to be that guy, but it's time to make a move in the coaching room.
Yeah.
It's
I agree.
Some would say we need to get rid of Pete Carmichael.
Carmichael. I think the Dennis Allen experiment has run its course. As a head coach, he is 18-41. Through his, 3.5 years between the Raiders and the Saints. Pete Carmichael has proven he is not a play caller in 2023 who is going to be successful. It's not working. Like, it is what it is. I think, although we're still early in the season, about a third of the way through here, that's enough of a point to be like, something's not working. Like, there's no scenario where you're 500. Derek Carr has, although he's gotten hurt, hasn't missed a game.
Yeah.
He missed the second half against the Packers, but Derek Carr hasn't missed a game. Alvin Kamara's been playing great since he's been back. Like, looks like the healthiest and best he's ever looked. You have Chris Olave. You have Michael Thomas. You have Rashid Shaheed. You have
4 tight ends.
A defense that is filled with superstars, and you're 3-3, losing to a young Houston Texans team, losing in a game to a Packers team where you were up by 17 points. None of it adds up to being, man, these players aren't executing. In my mind, it all adds up to the coaches are not holding up their end of the bargain. And I think we're at the point in the season where it's like, all right, we got to figure something out. Whether that means getting just mass exodus, get rid of everybody, or find a new play caller and let Dennis Allen focus solely on the defense, or whatever we have to do. I think we're at the point in the season where it's time to figure it out.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, we saw 2 of the best drives out of the Saints all year. Neither one of them ended in points, just because we didn't have an answer for a 6-man rush, which is wild to me, that you don't have an answer for 6 people. And because we were running plays in the red zone that were 4 or 5 second route tree like development, and you have to have somebody underneath just so you can dump it off if they're rushing 6. Somebody's got to be open.
Yeah, to specifically talk about the red zone offense, because that is where we struggle. Last 4 drives of the game that the Saints had the ball, they ended at the 27, 11, 15, and 24-yard lines of the Texans. So the last 4 drives finished within 27 yards of the goal line. We got a total of 3 points on those 4 drives. 2 missed field goals and 1 where we didn't do anything. That you can't have that. I understand, hey, Blake Grupe, rookie kicker, missed some field goals. Can't have it. Can't have 2 missed field goals. But you also can't have a play caller who doesn't know how to at least get us in a position to score 1 touchdown on 4 drives. It's just not working. Also saw a stat that I showed Rebo Hustle yesterday that he got a good laugh out of. Raheem Mostert has 11 touchdowns on the year. Christian McCaffrey has 9 touchdowns on the year. The New Orleans Saints have 8. What do we do? Something has to change.
How many touchdowns does Miami have as a whole?
We don't
Way
talk
too
about
many.
that.
It's
Way too
gotta
many.
be an insane amount.
They scored more in that 1 week when they beat the Denver Broncos 70-20 than we have all year.
Pretty much. It's yeah. I feel like we're being very negative, but also sometimes you just got to be negative, because there's not much positive to say. Like, the defense is still playing, they're still playing well.
Definitely.
I mean, they shut out the Patriots last week, who the Patriots aren't a good team.
Again, they're holding the team to 20 points.
Yeah, and they held the Texans to 20 points. You should, in this NFL, you should win when your defense holds them to 20 points. You just should. With the way scoring happens and the way the passing offensives have, really excelled in the recent NFL, you should win a game holding the other team to 20 points, and we simply cannot do that. However, this is the first time in Dennis Allen's career that he's 500 going into Week 7. I also saw that stat. First time
Things are looking
in his
up.
career that he's 500 or better going into Week 7.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, I'm not. The only good part about yesterday was that every other NFC South team also lost. So we're in the same. We're in the same boat. Same record as the Falcons. One half a game behind the Buccaneers due to their bye week already happening, and then the Panthers are still winless. So
Great to hear.
if
by the way.
anything else is, if there's anything good happening right now for the Saints, is that the teams in the division also are not playing great.
So who we have next week?
Week 7, Thursday night football.
It's
the
The
Jacksonville,
Jacksonville Jaguars come to New Orleans.
which is all right. So we just looked at this. The Saints are favored by 3 points.
Are they?
Yes.
That's got to be a lie. Oh, want to know why? It's because Trevor Lawrence did get hurt.
Yeah, he did.
He got a knee injury, so he's questionable for the game. At this point,
Who's their backup?
I don't know, but at this point, still might look at the Jags winning that game with how the Saints are playing.
I mean, if the backup plays, I don't know. We don't even know who he is. Could be Skylar Thompson. We're not losing Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson definitely still Miami.
Can't be Skylar Thompson because he's still in Miami.
However, if he's that level of player, Saints might be in trouble.
Skylar Thompson's a dog.
He is a dog. No. It's hard to be positive about the Saints, man. I do. I have a love for the New Orleans Saints without a doubt. Of course
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. I wouldn't be this harsh if I didn't. But
Constructive criticism.
It's C.J. Beathard, by the way.
CJ Beathard is worse than Skylar Thompson.
Still a dog.
Everybody's a dog.
Everybody's a
Former
dog.
Iowa quarterback.
That's why he's a dog.
Indeed. They're known for tight ends, not quarterbacks, for
No.
sure.
Tight ends in the line.
But, man, depending on Trevor Lawrence's health, I mean, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I feel a lot better about the Saints finding a win in that matchup.
Yeah.
But Travis Etienne has been dominating the past few weeks. I mean, I have him in fantasy, and boy, oh boy, am I loving it. 2 weeks in a row, he scored 28 plus.
yeah. The Jaguars have been playing like some really sound football. Like a lot of people were talking about how, for fantasy purposes, like Calvin Ridley is going to be one of those top receivers, and he's not. But it's not because he's not good enough. It's because the Jaguars are so good at divvying up the passes and really picking apart these defenses that they're all getting like 15 points a week.
Yeah.
Ingram, Kirk, Ridley,
Yeah.
they're all just there.
Zay Jones even.
Even Zay Jones.
And the Jags are also one of those teams who started off cold, and people were like, oh, we should have known this was going to happen. They were a one-year thing. And then
No, they're not the
they've
Giants.
won 3 in a row. Won those 2 in London, and then we're going to talk about that in a minute. Don't you worry. Won 2 in a row in London, and then just dominated the Colts this past week. So the Jags are on a hot streak. The Saints are not, to say the least.
Back and forth.
We'll see how it goes Thursday, and what we'll do is on Thursday we'll tweet out our predictions for the game, just because we don't know what's happening right now. We don't know the health of either team, so we don't want to give too many thoughts. But if the Saints play like they did this past weekend and the Jags play like they did this past weekend, if you're a Saints fan, you're probably not watching all 4 quarters.
Right. Yep.
So we'll give final thoughts.
Second column.
The second column, indeed. We'll give final thoughts on Thursday. Make sure to follow us off the _dome pod on X to keep up with that. We'll drop score predictions in there, and maybe who's going to have the best game, who's going to be the game MVP. Before we move on to our next topic, I do want to bring up the NFL as a whole, because we are a third of the way through. And although we stick to a lot of Louisiana sports, we have to talk about NFL wide what's happening. Before the season started, we gave a lot of takes, and we said a lot of things we may regret or things we're very proud of. So
Things some of us regret.
yeah. So
Some of us sitting between 2 people.
Well, there's only one of us.
Hey.